You good?
I'm exhausted.
Why?
I don't know why. I think I can feel myself getting sick or something. I don't have a clue.
Oh no.
I hate it. So everything has just been irritating me, and
Yeah, you've been very on edge today. Some ASMR.
I think we were doing that. Have we done that on an episode before?
I think we joked about it
Yeah.
before.
Oh.
Just don't do this.
Hi,
Don't do
guys.
this.
As you can see, we are no longer sitting on the floor, but we do have these giant robotic arms that are sticking out from our chairs.
We're slowly upgrading every single time. But here's the thing, Taylor, he's either I'm a slow upgrader. Taylor's like, let's get the best and beefiest thing ever.
Yeah.
So even with not being seen, he got us these giant robotic arms, which is
Yeah.
just so overkill.
But they're sick,
They,
right?
but they,
Like,
it, I think they're too bulky.
they are too bulky for what we're wanting to do. But
It's fine.
yeah, it's all right.
Now you can see our struggles.
Yeah, it'll be good. But welcome back, episode 29. We're having episode 29 right now,
Wow.
which is super, super wild. In our second video episode, which is,
Oh,
I don't know, but the peace sign does balloons. Oh wait, that's going to be a thumbs up. Yeah.
oh, I guess my thumb is broken.
Some people should not be allowed to have video effects on their stuff because their ADHD will kick in and they'll have a good time with it. Anyways, tonight is going to be, or this episode, whenever you're watching it, is going to be a little bit more free flowy conversational. And I would love to tell you that we're being intentional with switching the format to make it more conversational, to feel like you're in the room with us, but it's totally not. We just, again, failed to prepare an outline, which is okay. I don't want us to sound like terrible people.
Honestly, it sounds like you don't. You just made it sound like we don't even care about what we talk about.
No, we definitely care. We definitely have a plan for what we're going to talk about, but it's not going to be the most structured thing.
We just don't have like
that's good.
survey quotes and whatnot.
Yeah, survey quotes and statistics and
Yeah, that's
all that
what
kind
I
of stuff.
wanted to say. Statistics.
Survey quotes. Survey quotes are good though.
They are.
When you quote the survey,
But I mean, but that's how you create statistics, okay? So
that's fair. You have an MBA, I don't, so I wouldn't know.
All right.
Oh, but hey, really cool topic that we're talking about tonight. But before we do that, again, thanks so much for joining us over at the Clydes. Really trying to remind you guys what we're doing and why we're doing it. We just want to have conversations from our perspective in this season of our life of what we're going through, and basically just have an audio diary of whatever it is that the Lord's taking us through, and whatever it is that we're walking through ministry. Maybe that's relational stuff. All kinds of fun things. So that's pretty much what we're doing here on the show. And we post new episodes every week. So thanks again for joining us. Tonight, or whenever you're watching this or listening to this, we're hitting a really cool conversation that came up. I don't even know how did it come up?
So we were watching some kind of roundtable with, I think it was the Better Together Network.
Oh
with
yeah, on
CC.
TBN. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And it came up in conversation, and then we kind of just continued the conversation with us.
That's right.
Stemming from them, and they were just talking about how it actually started with a TikTok you showed me. I think how people were thirsty for knowledge, but were not thirsty for wisdom. Remember the TikTok CC was doing? And then when we watched the roundtable, Taylor's been on like the CC kick.
I love CC. Well, CC Winans is coming out with a new album on the 2nd of February.
Okay, so Taylor's been like stalking her. So we've been like watching her TikToks, listening to her songs.
It's gonna be fire.
She was a guest on the Better Together with a lot of like legends. It was such great conversation to listen. It was like
Alex
CC,
Seeley.
it was Lisa Harper, another author. It was great.
Wild.
It was really good gleaning. But that came up again, just talking about not seeking wisdom from those in a different season, or like the season higher up than you are. And then I said something along the lines
that's right,
that kind of made Taylor think about like, wait, this is a red flag, but not really, because he didn't know my heart behind it.
I wish that we could make everything you just said a description, like the teaser for the episode, because that was such a good setup. You gave exactly what we're talking about, but it was like a movie trailer. You didn't give us any details, but you gave us the
But
summary.
I thought that was like a whole point of
It
introduction.
was perfect. I could not
Thank
have asked
you.
for anything better. So
Well,
yes.
here I am.
So let's jump in there.
Okay.
So back, however long ago, CC Winans was talking to another influential. I don't know if she's a pastor or not, but she's phenomenal. But they were talking and they were doing some kind of interview, and the big thing that the good Reverend Winans was pushing was the concept that all of us are trying to get wisdom. We're trying to get we're trying to get all this stuff, but we need to, instead of asking total randos on the internet, we need to go and ask our moms, right? Ask our
The
grandmas,
people
ask.
who know you.
Yes.
Mhm.
And the whole conversation they were having was on having mature voices in your life, having older people in your life, which I think a lot of people are averse to, are averse. I don't know. Just they don't love it. They don't like having older people in their life. Why? Because older people maybe slow you down. Maybe they don't give you the most relevant
They don't give
advice.
you what you want to hear.
Not all the time. They're not as cool. They're hip or trendy. Taking selfies with them does not get you the same clout that it does if you're, taking selfies with your friends. I don't know, for whatever reason. But they were talking about the importance of having mature voices in your life. And honestly, that's something that I struggle with. Every year interview that I have with pastor or whoever else, he always goes, "Who's your mentor?" And I never have a good answer for that. I never have a good person that, I keep in my life that's a couple steps ahead, um, that I have found, that's older, that I found a lot of wisdom from. Have you ever had like a mentor like that that's been consistent in your life?
Yeah, so I always would go back in the day when I was in a youth leader. Casey Lee, who was the youth pastor's wife at the time,
Mhm.
she took me and someone else under her wing, and we read that book together, Free to Soar, written by like all those different types of pastor's wife.
Cool.
And we kept up that relationship, so it's not really, I still like will call her for advice, we still hang out every once in a while. So it's not really like a mentor mentee relationship at this moment, but we still have like a really solid friendship. So
Yeah.
that's a good one. I would say I always go to two different women at the church I tell you about whenever I have advice or when I need prayer and I know they will pray. So it hasn't been like a will you be my mentor type of
Will you mentor me?
relationship, but but I naturally go to them to seek counsel.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. I think I'm going to sound like I'm not going to sound, I'm going to sound like an influential person, but I'm going to internally know that I'm a hypocrite with this, but there's just something powerful about having an older person's voice in your life.
Mhm.
Um, we were talking the other day, and I think we mentioned it on a few podcasts back, but now I'm stepping back into, as of a couple months ago, back into the worship world. And we mentioned how much of a power player that my the worship pastor was at Faith 2 worship leaders removed ago, and he's still there serving in a
Mhm.
different capacity, but how impactful and how uh, good and beneficial that it is to have him still speak into my life. And he'll share stories and stuff, and sometimes it'll make your eyes roll, because I've heard the story maybe 4 or 5 times by now. um, One of which is funny because we talk about how he always goes, "Yeah, it's just got that. That's one of those faith miracles." And you go, "Faith miracles? What's that about?" Like, the name of our church is Faith Church. And he's like, "Yeah, we've never raised the dead at Faith Church, but, things have gotten up and walked away." Talking about
That's
things just
too
leaving
funny.
offices or just, and he says it, and the first time you laugh because it is genuinely funny, I think. But then, the fifth time it loses a little bit of the humor.
And I would laugh every time. I would find it as funny the first time every time.
Man, but I love it. I love him saying that stuff. I love the cheesy jokes and everything like that. And so that was one thing that they were talking through, on that particular TikTok. And then as we were talking through something else, it kind of, the conversation between us started where you were talking to somebody. I think you were talking to Timmy, but you guys were talking about like pregnancy, and you were like, "Hey, if I ever got pregnant, like I'm not going to tell anybody because I don't need all these opinions and all these different
Well,
things."
okay, well, number one, I didn't say that harsh. Calm down. I just pretty much voiced because Timmy does live with us. I was like, hey, just let you know, because it's not a secret that we are trying. I'm like, whenever you're going to be one of the first people to know
Mm,
because of where you live.
right.
But I will be so quiet about it because number one, I do not want to hear people's opinions.
Sure.
I especially do not want to hear a lot of told you shows because for the longest time we did not want kids. I mean, we've been married 10 years and
Dang.
yes. But and they don't and like because people just because you have social media does not make people privileged to your private life. And so I do not want to share that as loud on social media. And some people love that. But for me personally, especially because it has been such a trying time. I mean, we're coming up on like now a year of
Hmm.
trying and not seeing like, and we've been really trying, probably TMI, but not seeing results. And so I don't know when we might take that step in seeing if
Yeah.
everything's working or not, but I genuinely I want to almost like value it and like, tell the people and rejoice with the people close to me. And I don't want people to say, well, you need to do X, Y, Z. I don't want any I told you so's.
Yeah.
It's like told you you would change your mind. Well, like tragic circumstances happen to have me change my mind. I never pictured myself as a mom because I pictured myself as a caregiver to my special needs
Hmm.
sister. And that was a big factor of why I wanted to give all my time and attention to my future, with being a caregiver to my
Yeah.
special needs adult sister. Well, she would have been adult at the time. And now that she's passed, we've had the margin to dream like what if we did become parents? And that's very private. Granted, as I just posted it all over, it's so much easier to talk just us with the camera.
Yeah, but you
Um,
chose to share it this time,
Yes,
which
and I
that's
chose, and so
yeah.
people is not you're not privileged to, and even if I did change my mind just because I did change my mind, that's fine.
It's true.
And
The
so I don't know.
I don't want to
I'm
make you,
particular.
and you should be like, this is your life. That's your privacy. That's your business. Tabitha Brown, that's your business.
Oh,
Um, but I think that and what I don't want to do, I don't want to make you sound like the bad guy. Like it's your prerogative to share as much as you want or
but
not
you
share as
you
much
did
as you
bring
want.
up a good point. So Taylor's point was that's so interesting. You don't want to share it on social media because we just heard like in two or three different platforms how this generation or maybe like the generation after us, the younger one, they do not want other people's opinions
Mm-mm.
and they do not want to grow in wisdom from the higher generation. And so that is, could have been a red flag if I had the mindset of I'm gonna figure everything out and I'm gonna do me and my pregnancy is my pregnancy,
Hmm.
But I explained to him, I was like, no, I have three women who, number one, they're praying for us all the time about our pregnancy. And I'm gonna go to them with all of the questions because I trust them. Like, they're my confidants.
Yeah,
And I mean they've raised some pretty great kids. So
that should speak for itself.
mhm.
Yeah, I think that's where we really wanted the conversation to go tonight. Of to hit the topic of, and we don't even really have a title for it yet. Hopefully, it comes out and kind of evolves through the episode. But we are so, not even that we're so wisdom hungry. We are so self focused, self centric that we don't want any opinions. We don't want any kind of perspectives. We just want to do us.
We rather YouTube how to change a tire than ask our dad to teach us how to change a tire.
That's a major facet of it. And then for some of us, when we go through difficult things of like maybe there's a grandparent that passes away, or maybe it's maybe for the first time something has happened in our life that usually doesn't happen and we're not sure how to react to it. We don't I think the danger comes when we don't ask people about it. And I don't know, I don't want to do an Andy Griffith kind of style, like we lost America when this happened kind of argument. But I think we don't talk to our parents about stuff. We don't talk to our grandparents about stuff. We don't invite older voices into our lives to speak into those issues. And I would say further than that, we don't invite any voices into our life because we're so focused on getting through it ourselves, and it's nobody's business. And they're just gonna. I'll tell you where I think it comes from.
Okay.
Not
Tell
to
us.
not to ramble on, Led Zeppelin, but hey, um, I think a lot of it comes from we have been rightly burned by bad opinions and bad advice. Like tell me one instance in your life that's really happened that has been bad advice that somebody gave you or a bad opinion that was just
Um,
flat out probably wrong.
what comes to my mind is whenever when we were at my sister's funeral, people would literally just look at me and say, "You're too young to go through this."
You want to change it for
I
me?
was like, but my situation is still my situation. Yeah. Remember when I almost fought someone at my sister's wake?
Gosh.
They were being crazy. That's another story. That's a whole testimony
Yeah.
episode we have to do. I didn't really almost fight them, but Taylor had to like have them walk away from me.
It's one of those things where you just position yourself kind of like right in between. But yeah, no, that's a great point. And super solid story that just supports the whole idea of we have all experienced a moment where we were just talking about this in staff meeting yesterday, where we have these people as pastors, you have these people that don't love everything that you do. What? Yeah, not
Crazy.
everybody approves of everything you do. That's crazy. Um, and then try leading at a mega church and you invite, hundreds of voices into your life.
If not thousands.
Unsolicited voices. Music's too loud. It's too foggy in here. Where's the style? Where's this worship leader? Blah, blah, blah. But what that's done is that has removed any wisdom, I think, from coming into our lives because we have rejected all perspectives and all opinions. That includes, it's the whole expression, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. When you remove all of the voices from your life, you remove the bad voices and the good voices.
Yeah.
So kind of where scripturally where it comes from, and I admittedly had to Google it right before this. I didn't have it just on the dome, but Proverbs 11, 14. Proverbs 11:14 says, "Where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety." So guidance to me oftentimes looks like somebody who's saying something that is opposite of what I want to do or
Mm.
opposite of what I'm doing. It's like when it's the guardrails to me. If you're driving and you hit a guardrail, that is really unfortunate. Like you've got to
But
now
it
fix your
saved you
car.
from going off the cliff.
Yes, it does not feel good when you're bowling and you hit the little gutter safety things. It
The
makes you feel like
bumpers.
the bumpers, yeah. It makes you feel like a child, but you didn't get a gutter ball,
No, I feel
right?
great.
So it says where there's no guidance, a people falls. Not what we want. That's not good. But in an abundance, that's a lot of counselors. There is safety. Another one says there's safety. There's wisdom in the multitude of counsel, I think is what the NIV says.
And I want to point out it says counselors. It doesn't say your friends. It doesn't say the people who hype you up. Because whenever, and we've seen this with a few people, I've seen people literally invite every opinion there is, and they just want to. In reality, in my opinion, and this is probably me just being a little judgy,
Here's where we're going to disagree.
they're just bleeding on so many people and they're inviting so many voices,
Yeah.
they overwhelm themselves. I'm like, and so
Yeah. Okay.
I'm very protective. I have like 3 voices that I'll go to. But like I see it, people literally they're like, "Well, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do?" But you're inviting too much in at the same time. And so yes, with a lot of counselors, but like that's why I said like seek counsel.
Sure.
Don't ask every single one of your friends
Yeah. 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 Okay, follow-up
or
question.
acquaintance.
I did not disagree like I thought I would. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Haha.
I'm not gonna lie to you at all. So
They saw that now.
how or they're listening and
I
they miss it.
forgot.
Don't tell them what we did.
Oh no.
You have to go on YouTube to see it. So if you're listening on Spot, well, you
I
could be
like how
watching
you're
on Spotify.
pointing and then like they still can't see you
They don't
point if they're
even
just listening.
know. I
This
just did a
video,
little dance right there, and unless you're watching on YouTube, you had no idea.
wow, what a treat.
Yeah, did not disagree as much as I thought I would with that. Let me ask you, how you mentioned you had 3 trusted voices specifically.
Yes.
How do we navigate finding the right voices? Because we've just established, right, that we don't want to throw out all the voices because some voices are good voices.
Correct.
How do you personally find those voices and narrow it down from the sea of voices to the right voices?
Well, number
Tough
one,
question,
it
right?
is tough,
Good
but
stuff.
the time, you know what I mean?
What
So
do you mean?
we talked about your mom, your grandma. They know you. They love you. And so, granted, even though I don't have that relationship, with my family,
Mhm,
I have someone like Stacy Shiner who's known me for over a decade and who loves me like a daughter.
mhm,
And I know has cried for me, who has, prayed for me daily, and who I can just text. And I know if I was in trouble, she would drop everything for it. And you don't, and we talked about this in our friends episode, whenever our best friends moved away, you can't just replace a 10-year relationship
no,
like that, I didn't wake up one day and have Stacy Shiner in my
mhm,
life.
right,
Like that took a lot of development and growth and a lot of vulnerability on my end to
yeah,
open up to her. It's a two-way street.
absolutely,
So
yes,
I
yeah,
I see it all the time, and especially with people who've asked me to mentor them, they want mentorship, but they don't want the commitment that comes with mentorship. They don't
mhm.
want to do the time that comes with mentorship and the work that comes with mentorship.
That's another episode. We need to write that down because I would love to talk about not the cost, maybe the cost of discipleship or mentorship, maybe even the cost of growth.
Yeah,
Continue. I'm so
yeah, but
sorry.
you find it because you have to open up. And granted, you can see, people's fruit. Whenever Stacy prays, I want to pray like Stacy. I'm attracted to that. So I go, I gravitate towards her.
Okay.
Same with Carrie Williams. Like whenever I remember there was all staff and I was having, it was just a lot of like baggage with the family, and
Hmm.
I grabbed her. I was like, I need prayer. Like, and just right then and there we
I
prayed.
remember that. Yeah.
And not only did she pray with me, she would message and follow up with it too. That's attractive. I want to be like Carrie, so I'm gonna draw close to Carrie.
All right. So I picked out 3 things that you said. One is time. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that speaks to the age gap, maybe between you and that person, because that speaks to the maturity, that speaks to the growth in their life. You also mentioned watch the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are people who can raise a good family, if they're people who can, and that's Bible,
Yeah.
right? And that's like Timothy talks about not Timothy, Titus, I think, talks about the stipulations for a deacon or for an elder. So time, watch the fruit, and then attractiveness or
You have to be
um,
vulnerable too.
definitely have to be vulnerable. But in the realm of how to pick that good voice in your life, like if you want to be like that person,
Mm-hmm.
terrible way to paraphrase it, but I think that's what you were saying. If this person models a life of intercessory prayer and gentleness and meekness, and you want that in your life, that's a good sign that that's a voice that you should let speak into your life, right?
And you have to think of, I remember someone asked me about this. Because I'm an introvert out extrovert. So I'm a loud personality, but I
A
replenish.
bivert.
Stop. But I replenish by myself. Like even though I love to be loud, I actually get drained by a lot of people. And so people
Yeah,
just assume because I enjoy to have fun, I get fueled by that, but I don't. I get fueled with the chillness
yeah.
and a good anime by myself with with even you gone. And so she asked, she's like,
Thank
"How do you?"
God.
Huh?
I'm not trying to watch anime.
Yeah, exactly. But she asked me, she's like, "How do you not let people drain you?" And it's simple. Don't surround yourself with people who drain you. So if
Yeah, that's good.
like if someone, now it's different once you get into a higher up and you do mentor people and you can discern, because you definitely want to pour out and fill other people's up,
Have to.
but you have to be just it's, you've said it before, you want someone over you, you want someone beside you, and you want someone under you. So if
Mhm.
I'm getting filled not just by like the other
You
voices
better
in my
say this,
life,
Liz. You better
but
say
I'm
it.
also like, it's the same thing with the I forget the scripture right now, but abide, remain in me, like as I
I am the
remain in,
vine. Yeah.
yeah. So if I'm connected to the source, I have more to give out
Come on.
because I'm connected. And just, I
Yep.
mean, I went through a really, like a few days I was kind of like a Debbie Downer, just with the car wreck and family situations, and I was just feeling extra down. Like I think like just the reality of stuff was just blah. And so I was a little disconnected, but I was not overflowing anything.
Mm.
And I feel like that's okay. Like you're not going to be this overflowing fountain
Not
all the
100%.
time.
No
Absolutely not.
way.
I did not text any of my friends that week.
Yeah.
I did not even reach out to like mentors. I literally just kind of stayed home and stayed sad. I like let a lot of things drop. I dropped the ball on a few things,
Mm.
work wise, with both jobs.
That was weird.
I was like, I forgot I was supposed to do this and I didn't do it. And I committed to it and I'm awful.
My stomach hurt.
No, and it was like 2 days afterwards. It wasn't even like the next day. I was like, I literally did not show up when I was supposed to show up.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's okay, but you just don't stay there. Is that, I know I went on this big rabbit trail.
No, it's good. Can I give you like an unpopular hot take?
Go for
I
it.
don't even know if I fully believe it. This podcast is an amazing opportunity for us to say stuff.
And we don't even know.
In 5 years, we may completely disagree with how we
It's
are
like,
because that stuff grows.
yeah.
Um, if I'm having just a ruddy day, just a terrible day, I'll just not try to make it better. I'll throw it away and try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I get, scripture says number your days and make every day count and things like that. But there are just some days
Also
that you're
says
not
joy
on it.
comes in the morning.
Right. Yeah, no, it's so true. There's just some days where you don't want to exert all the effort to just try to twist it and turn it all around.
Mm,
And so you trust that, you maybe the Lord's going to give you a day tomorrow. Maybe he
right.
won't, but hey, if he does, that's great.
And I remember one time just when I was like feeling a lot, I texted Casey. I was like, "Hey, we need to get lunch. Like, I need to vent. I need an outlet.
Yeah.
I need this." But once again, you have to be self-aware too. You can't expect for your people who mentor you to know everything, because you have to understand they have their own lives too. A
Mhm.
mentorship isn't them babying you. A mentorship is them coming alongside of you and guiding, and navigating, but they're not going to force you or
Right.
always check up on you. They're not going to hold your hand, and I feel like that's how people get butt hurt. They want someone just to spoon feed them, and they want someone to blame when they mess up. And
Sure.
we've had that at the church so many times where someone messes up and they blame the church because we didn't hold them accountable enough.
And maybe that's where earlier in the episode we talked about how you get bad advice and that's when you start shutting it out. But maybe some of this refusal of, perspective, opinions, counsel, guidance, right? Maybe some of that is a trauma response from having a mentor, some kind of mentor voice in your life, having an unmet expectation.
And I've had some, I remember I was just so, this is more like my high school, early college days. I was just like, I was craving mentorship. And I sought it out and I thought I, found it, and they weren't the best mentors. But being in this situation now, I have not been the best mentor in other people who sought my counsel. And I'm at this place now. I know that I'm human,
Hmm.
and
More grace these
right,
days.
so
Yeah.
much more grace, because I had these expectations that a lot of times I didn't even voice,
Hmm.
and then when people failed my expectations, then I'm like, "Oh, what do they know?"
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it takes a little discernment, lots of prayer. I remember, in high school just praying for a godly best friend, just someone to walk alongside with,
Man, you had one for a bit.
and then she passed away.
Your life is so sad.
No, it's not. Stop.
That's crazy.
That's a
I didn't
whole
piece that
nother.
together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone I love leaves.
Oh,
No, that's a whole thing, and I think I am getting ready to kind of like from start to finish talk about just the grace over my life because if I was not connected to the vine, I would have pruned myself out of this world.
you're amazing.
Nah, no.
Weaker people would have folded
As
compared
as
to,
I say, I do not understand how people can get through this life without Jesus. I do not understand.
I don't know.
But gosh, I'm trying to like
I
go
wish
back.
we had a timer.
We don't
This is
have a
going to be awkward
timer.
for you guys. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to get really close
Are
to
you
you.
just gonna figure out? I feel like we're doing what we wanted to do. We just wanted to sit and chat. So if
Yeah.
we go a little over,
And we can end like anywhere you want to because this is exactly where we need to be.
are you? Oh, really? We're at time. We should
Yeah.
do a part 2 next week.
Oh, part 2? Wait. Hey!
Yay!
We made the balloons come up with our little 2. Yeah. So, I mean, just to wrap it all up, I would say this. Good stuff. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really practical tips on how you can narrow down the sea of voices of just opinions and perspectives, and you can really distill that down to a helpful few that are going to speak into your life.
So, I mean, my encouragement is if you're looking for mentorship, first see who's around you already. God has already placed people in your life.
So good. Yeah.
And chances are it could be like your grandma, it could be your aunt, it could be maybe your youth pastor in a deeper way, you
Yeah.
know, maybe his wife in a deeper way because I mean they don't know
Or her
what you're
husband.
after. Yes, I'm sorry,
Who knows?
I was thinking of our
Yeah.
but
Sorry.
so look around you to see who you have. I mean, pray as well for discernment because there are not the best mentors out there.
True.
And have a grace about it too. Like don't a mentor is a human who is trying to get through life too the best they can by the grace of God.
They're just one step, one season ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And they don't have all the answers, but they can hopefully
Nope.
just guide you and counsel you and maybe watch you trip and help you get back up.
Yeah. That's wild stuff. Super good stuff. Well, hey, thanks for joining us for this conversation on inviting older voices into your life, why you shouldn't reject every voice. We never
Seeking
really
counsel,
did.
that should be the title.
Seeking counsel. Okay, yeah. It's not clickbaity enough. You know,
Oh.
it's not provocative enough to get the people going.
Provocative. Okay, whatever.
But thank you so much for joining us. Episode 29 of the Clydes was super fun. Hey, join us next week as we continue the conversation talking about something else really cool. A couple quick things for you. One, if you're watching on YouTube, you can now leave us a tip, which I feel really odd asking, not asking for, but telling you. But the cool thing about that is that if you give us, a tip, if you throw your card on there or something like that, then we're able to turn that right back around and hide some cables or, bring in some other voices.
The ministry.
Yeah. So if that's your thing, go for it. Do it. Also, follow us on Instagram at Taylor Clyde, at Elizabeth P. Clyde. We would love to hear what you guys think about some future conversations, or maybe have some more dialogue, some more conversations, or tell us about a horrible mentor experience that you've had. If you had somebody that
you need some healing, we're here to listen.
Yeah, if they ripped you a new one, throw us a DM. Let us know. We'd love to hear about that and gossip about them with you.
No gossip.
Just kidding. But we'd love to hear about that story. We'd love to hear about that and what the Lord's doing maybe in your life now. But until next time, we will see you on the flip side.
Bye-bye.